love.
All right, what's going on, Gospel Diaries? Listen, I'm so excited.
You
I'm
are.
in Tulsa,
What?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. And now
Uh-huh.
you are in, you know where you are?
No.
I'm going to tell you where you are. You're in Oklahoma.
Okay. And I'm with the one and only, the also lovely Miss Sara Jordan Powell. Say
I am
hello to the
so
people.
happy.
Say hi.
Hi, everybody. I love you very, very much. You know I do. And I can't see you where you are, but thank God Eric has you on video. And
Yes.
I can see you.
Yeah.
You're wonderful.
Please. Listen, if you would, just take a moment and subscribe and tell a neighbor, tell a friend that we have Sister Sara Jordan Powell right here with us. I'm so excited about that. But listen, like talking with you, like we can delve into so much, you know. But I think it's a proper place to delve within your background with the Church of God in Christ, being that you're still with the Grand Old Church.
Yes.
And you told me a story once about meeting the founder of the Church of God in Christ. So let's start there. Let's talk about your experiences
when I was
with
2 and a half.
Okay.
And I was in the Sunshine Band.
Okay.
And Mother Crouch, that was her name. Then she became the International Mother later. But anyway, I sang, I need thee, oh, I need thee. She says, this is a baby who can sing. So she took me up to the pulpit. Well, not to the pulpit. She took me up to sit up there and to sing, because Bishop Mason had come just to preach and to exhort the people. And so she told the people, the ministers up there, that I could sing. And they said, what? And they said, listen to her. And so I just sang a little bit. And so they said, oh, yes, we have to put her up to the pulpit.
Oh, wow.
So they did. And they put me up just before Bishop Mason.
And you remember these?
I remember that so well, so very well. And I sang, I need thee, oh, I need thee, every hour I need thee. Oh, bless me now, my Savior, I come to thee. Because I had heard the saints singing, because my dad was a preacher, Church of God in Christ. And so they put me up there and I sang my song, and Bishop Mason himself grabbed me, hugged me, dedicated me, kissed me, and consecrated me then to the work of the Lord. And I accepted that. And I believe that had something for my carrying on like I have all my life. It was dedicated my life to the Lord.
Dedicated your life. I dedicate. I'm trying to make up a song on the spot. I dedicate my life to the Lord.
Oh my goodness, that makes sense. I dedicated my life to the Lord. And I've been with the Church of God in Christ ever since. And it's been wonderful just being a part of it. And I have sung for 4 bishops. And now I've left because I'm older now. And they want me to
You're more seasoned.
I'm more seasoned. Okay, Rick. Okay, Eric. And so I want to spend the rest of my life just praising God and giving Him the glory for all of the things that have happened with me.
Because
I've traveled all over the world.
Dorothy Love Coach said, she said, who put the moon and the stars? Look at this. Nobody but a God.
Nobody but a God. Look at this beautiful sky.
That could make something like
this. Look at this beautiful the beautiful water. He's responsible for all of the beautiful things. And I just thank Him for that. Well, when they found out that I did go to school, because my dad did not want me to go to Memphis as a child. So I got my bachelor's.
That's okay. I love it. I think they're talking to one another.
They're saying they're happy we're here. And I got my bachelor's there. And then at a predominantly black school. Predominantly. They call them something else now. I can't think of the name, but the issue. And then I moved to Chicago, but later I returned to Houston. And it was at that time that I went to a Baptist university and a Catholic university and got my master's degree in English and what else? I can't think of all the things I got it in. But anyway, I got that. And so now that I've gotten older, it was at Houston St. Charles University. And so after that, I moved and taught there. And I was a member of Bishop What's his name?
Goldsberry?
Bishop Goldsberry's
Uh-huh.
church.
But before we go there, we want to get your earliest memories that you can remember of going to the conventions, like as a child, like convocation.
Yes, I went there and I sang with Maddie Moss Clark. Did you remember her?
You are you are remember Maddie Moss
Maddie
Clark.
Moss Clark. In fact, at that time in the 60s, people of color did not stay in hotels. Not
Not in the
really,
South.
not really in the
Wow.
South. Yeah.
Oh.
And so when service was over, we had a wonderful time with the Lord, with the members of the church and the bishops in the church.
Mhm.
They all. And do you remember Maddie Moss Clark had a choir?
Southwest.
Yeah, Southwest Michigan State Choir. That's right.
Yeah.
And so when it was over, Maddie said to me, "Sarah, you're going home with me."
Really?
Yeah, and so I went home with her. And did you remember Twinkie?
Yeah.
Twinkie used to play organ
The
and
queen of
piano.
the B3.
Yes, 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 yes.
Uh-huh.
And so Maddie said to Twinkie when it was time for bed, she said, "Twinkie,"
Mhm.
and Twinkie said, "Yes, Mom." Says, "Is there room somewhere up there? Is there room for her?"
Mhm.
She said, "Mom, she has new bedding, new pillows, new sheets. Everything is new, and it's there for her."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much."
Mhm.
Well, I must tell you this.
Mhm.
So I slept really, really well. And when it was over, we went down for breakfast.
Mhm.
And the youngest child, Karen,
Karen.
I think she was 6 years old.
Wow.
And so when I came out of my room that Twinkie had prepared, I saw Twinkie in her mother's bed.
Oh wow.
And so I said, Twinkie, we're going down for breakfast. I said, "What are you doing in your mother's bed?" She said, "Because I love my mama." I will never forget that.
Wow.
And so anyway, now she's the first lady.
Mhm.
Isn't that wonderful?
Well, Karen, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Karen.
Mhm.
Karen is
Yeah.
is the first lady. But Karen was a little girl then.
Wow.
And her husband is the president of the church.
Oh yeah, Bishop J. Drew.
J. Drew Sheard. Yes.
Wow.
And we're just so delighted to know that the church must move on.
It must move on. And on that note, I just wanted to do a soft introduction so you all can see the queen here, Miss Sara Jordan Powell, but we're our gospel diary.
Good. I must tell you that when I went to Memphis,
Uh-huh.
I was Bishop J. O. Patterson was the one who flew to Houston and anointed me there. And yes, and he said, "I have a place for you." My husband and me, he met with us.
Sara Jordan Powell. We'll be right back.
Stories. I heard music from above.
Oh yes.
In the dark clouds all around me.
Uh-huh.
And they will fade away. The sun is still shining.
Oh yes.
And there is going to be a brighter day. Yeah.
Uh-huh. What
I
lips?
want to sing like I used to, and I can't. What lips? What lips?
There you go. Uh-huh.
What takes me higher?
Uh-huh.
What gives me joy? What gives me power?
Yeah.
God's love.
Uh-huh.
God.
You better sing. Gospel Diaries, we are back and we're still here with the lovely Miss Sara Jordan Powell. So let's delve a bit deeper into your Gospel Diary, okay? So as it relates to, so you were born in what state?
In Waller, Texas.
Waller, Texas.
It was just a hamlet
Really?
before Houston, yeah, a suburb of Houston. But I was actually born there, and my mother was a teacher, a Bible teacher, and while she was teaching, she went into labor with me.
Really?
Yeah, and in our little church, and you'll see it inside. Little church, there was a room right next to the main office. I mean, the main sanctuary, and that's where I was born. So when I say I've been in the church all my life.
You've literally been in the church.
I have been. Listen, I was born in the church, but I later found out that the church had to be born in me.
Oh wow!
So the church was born in me. You know, right there in that church, and I've been singing ever since.
Wow. All right. So what led you to Chicago?
Oh,
Was it
1961.
Really?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, and you were married when
Oh,
you moved
yes.
to
What happened? My husband went up in the balcony. We had a balcony at Bishop Roseberry's,
hmm
and he said he watched me for 3 years.
your husband.
My husband did, John,
Okay.
because I was singing in the choir.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sang with the choir and loved it. I loved Bishop Roseberry and his wife, the Ace. But anyway, when I got ready to get married, I got married at the University of Houston. University Houston. Uh,
University of Chicago?
yes, in Chicago. I got married there. I'll show you pictures.
Really?
Yes, I got
Okay.
married there. And Bishop Roseberry performed the ceremony.
Mm.
Yeah. But anyway, after that, my dad passed away. And so I went to Houston to visit, but my mother and the rest of the family wanted me to stay there. And so anyway, that's where I've been until our son wanted to come here. He had visited the predominantly black schools, and he said, I'm gonna be
A Morehouse?
Morehouse. He said, I'm a Morehouse man.
Okay.
He visited there. But when he came here, they were having praise and worship, and he loved it. And so then he stayed here. And because John already he was an attorney in Houston, he got that degree from there. When we came here, he said the Lord spoke to him and said, You've already studied man's law. I want you to come here and study my law. So that's why we stayed here.
Wow. So let me get it right. So you originally left. What was that first state?
Waller, Texas.
Texas. You originally left Texas and moved to Chicago with your husband.
And Houston, Texas.
And then you went to Houston, and in Houston is where you recorded that 45.
That's right.
All right, so let's go to Chicago.
All right.
Now, what's
Chicago.
amazing about Chicago is that you got a chance, a very rare opportunity, to sing with one of the forerunners, one of the pioneers, one of the ladies that actually helped to create the prototype for gospel. Yes.
Sally Martin heard me.
Yeah.
See, when I went to Chicago, different people heard me sing.
Okay.
And so she called me and said, I need you to come over to my house. She says, because I think you're the one I want. And so I went to her house and sang. She said, oh, yes. So I only sang because I was teaching, and in August school was out. And so that's when I traveled with Sally Martin.
So how many years do you think you traveled with her?
That summer.
That's it?
That summer, and maybe one more summer.
2 songs. One of them is entitled Come to This Font. You remember that song?
Come what?
Come Thy Font, right?
Come Thy Font.
Right.
I did that in Chicago.
Right. Now, you recorded that with her.
Recorded that.
That's your voice.
In Chicago.
Yeah, because they gave you the credit. I'm like, this woman, this is Sara Jordan Powell.
Wait, I'm going to tell you something that you probably didn't know. While I was there, Roberta Martin, have you heard of her?
Yeah.
Well, she heard that I was in town, and at that time, she was very, very sick. And so she said, I want you to come and visit me. So I went to visit her, and she wasn't well then. But she said, let's sit by the window, and I want you to sing to me. And I did that. We had a wonderful time, and she passed right after that.
So we're talking 69. She died in 69.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
You see, I've met these kinds of people. It's amazing to me. And one more. And so I did that, and she said, oh, I wish you had been here earlier, and I had known you. You would have been one of the singers for, she was the lady. Roberta Martin singers. And so I was sing to her. But then I was invited to one of the DuSable school because they were having Mahalia Jackson. And so I met her.
Really?
And so she said, you going to sing too? I said, I guess so. That's why they invited me. And so she sang and I sang.
Wow.
From Mahalia Jackson.
Wow.
And
we're talking about some of these primitive contributors of gospel. Let's talk about Thomas Dorsey. You remember him? Did you ever meet him?
Let me tell you, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't going to mention it. I was asked to come to Washington, D.C. because they were honoring Black music. And so they said, we want you to be on the mall and we want you to sing. And so Thomas Dorsey was right next door to me in his own suite.
In Washington, D.C.?
In Washington, D.C. And so he came out and I met him. I'm so sorry I didn't know really about him a lot, but we sat together and talked and talked and talked. And I met him.
Wow.
He was wonderful.
Yeah.
He was advocacy. Precious Lord,
Precious Lord.
take my hand.
And what else?
Lead me on.
So that
yes,
I might stand.
yes.
Because I am tired.
And so we were the guests. We were the
don't
guests
get
in
me started.
Washington D.C. We were the guests for Washington D.C. And I will forever remember that.
What about the Bear Sisters?
Oh, I love them so much.
Really?
And oh yes, and Dolores, she and I sang together with what's his name? The church where you're going now. Maceo Woods called me and wanted me to sing with him, and I went there to sing alone for him twice at what's the name of that place?
So I found the bill to the concert that he took. Gospel Supreme to the erix-clark.
Yes,
so
and
you probably was there.
Yeah, I probably was. I went twice for him. Yeah.
Let's stay there with Pastor Mason. Pastor Mason
he was a wonderful man.
His music was so elegant.
His music was so classical and so beautiful, and he was a outstanding man whom I met. I think he still has some members there.
Oh yeah,
but
talking to people like Rich. I'm gonna just name the name.
Okay.
And shout out to Pastor DeAndre Patterson. He's actually the pastor of the church.
Oh,
now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh, that's news to me.
Yeah, he's the pastor of Christian.
And do you remember the girl who was Doris Sykes?
That one. Now she was a diva.
That's right. See, I remember those people, and I left after that because my dad was ill. And I stayed there until I moved here because Mark wanted to go to the chapel.
Until you moved to Oklahoma.
Left Oklahoma and came here.
Left for Chicago and came.
Yeah, for ORU.
And what
and ORU, I was I was the mentor for many black students that came there. At first, there were a lot of whites, and so I went there with. Reverend Owens. I went there to meet Reverend Owens. And then while I was there, they said, well, you have a degree. Why don't you come over here and be, I can't think of the name of the person. I had a person, but I was the access person for all of the students who didn't really do well in school.
Oh, wow.
And so one of the students was Charles. Not Charles. Charles was there too. He graduated from there.
Charles, which one?
Charles Blake.
Really?
The second.
Really?
Yes, he graduated from ORU first.
Oral Roberts.
I'm Oral Roberts. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I said ORU. I don't mean ORU. Right. I mean Oral Roberts. Right. He graduated. He got his first degree from there.
Wow.
And I would say his name is.
You taught at?
I taught there too.
Oral Roberts University.
Oral Roberts University.
Lord have mercy, Jesus.
Yeah, and so anyway, after my time there with Larry, everybody called him Larry then, but his name is Lawrence.
Okay.
Lawrence Blake. He would come to my office and said, Larry, I called him Larry. I said, Larry, did you go to class today? He said, I'm going. I'm on my way now. You know, like that. He was live all the time. And that's where he went too.
Wow. So right before we leave this segment, Sally Martin and a lot of the pioneers of Chicago, Sally Martin in the early '60s, she introduced a musical saw.
Yes.
Music. Do you recall
Let's see.
Do you recall anything about that?
Okay. I can't remember. See, one thing that I can remember is a lot of things. Some things I forget. But with Sally Martin, one of the songs we would sing in the car. We would sing, "Oh my, come to my mind."
Not God is moving, is it?
No, not God is moving, but another one. Think of another one.
Rainbow in the Sky.
Yes.
Really? Okay. But she recorded.
How do you remember that?
She recorded that with Alex Bradford, right?
With Alex. Alex, I'm not sure who.
I think it was Alex or.
But he was a pianist for the one you mentioned, who's in hospice now.
Kenneth Woods.
Kenneth Woods was our musician, and he was absolutely wonderful too. I mean, out of this world. He could play the piano well.
Wow.
You know, and so anyway, we travel on the East Coast a lot.
So how was those travels? So you all got in the car and literally went from Chicago all the way to the East Coast.
But she had to drive.
Who?
Sally Martin.
Really? Why? She didn't trust nobody else?
I'm just telling you this.
I'm
I
listening to
shouldn't
you.
tell you this.
Well, she
No,
was terrified. Huh?
I mean I was,
Oh, you was.
but you know what?
No, I've heard
But
someone told.
I learned to just live with it because I sat in the front seat. And the way she would drive is put her foot on the pedal and then take it off,
Oh,
and then
Jesus.
put it on the pedal and then take it off. I'm
She
just
must have
telling you.
wasted a lot of gas.
Yes, yes, yes. But anyway, a lot of the old timers I met, and I'm so glad I did. I sang at most of the churches
So
there.
what about Edith Gary? You remember her?
Gary who?
Edith Gary. She was a
No, I
part of the group.
don't.
Okay, what about
No.
Shirley Bell?
Shirley Bell,
Now this is the
yes.
one that she's totally different from Shirley Bell from Fellowship.
Totally
So talk
different.
about Shirley Bell a bit.
She was well, Shirley was quiet and peaceful
Mm-hmm.
and sweet.
Really?
She was sweet. And then another girl, I can't think of her name.
Betsy Folk?
Yes,
Okay.
Bessie Folks. You remember Bessie
She
Folks?
used to sing with the Roberta Martin.
She did sing with the
Her
Roberta.
son is actually still alive. Shout out to Eugene.
Eugene Folks?
He's still alive.
Oh no,
Yeah.
Eugene Folks was one of the persons who traveled with us.
He traveled with you?
Yes, yes.
Oh, wow.
It's
No, you thinking about Eugene Burt.
I'm thinking about Eugene Burt.
That actually went to the Raymond Raspberry singing.
Yes, right.
Right.
The Raspberry.
Oh, they was on that.
They were the ones to listen to. He was one, Eugene Burt. But see, also those are old timers. But I knew James. And did you know Jerry Bratton?
Oh God, I love him.
Jerry was my friend.
He was somebody's singer.
James, and I sang together.
As a trio?
As a trio.
Really? Tell me about that.
Yes, we did. We did for many years.
And who was the accompanist? And who accompanied you all?
I don't remember. I don't remember the accompanist. If you mentioned the person's name, I would probably know that person.
It wasn't Luke Austin, was it?
Luke Austin.
It was Luke Austin?
Luke Austin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know Luke.
Ooh, Sonny. He was something else now.
Sonny played for me many times.
Really?
Oh, yes.
He was before his time.
Before his time.
Yeah.
Charles Clancy, the Voices of Melody.
Him, right?
I know I'm talking about. I'm saying with the Voices of Melody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so don't leave it out.
Shout out to Dr. Charles Quincy. That is my mentor.
He is.
Yeah, we talk a lot.
Oh, yes. I was singing right across the street at what's the name of the school?
Inglewood.
Inglewood. And so after school, I would go right across the street because that was a church that burned.
Right, because he was the musician over there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You remember
and
that?
Then look, at that particular time, Kenneth Morris was there.
I remember it.
And Fitzpatrick, what was his
name? And played. Kyle Preacher.
Yeah, Preacher.
He was, because I had met him and he wanted me to sing for one of their events downtown at a predominantly white church.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and then at that time, you know this girl, her name is, I call her girl, but Adams. Yolanda. Yolanda was like 15 then, and they invited me because I had just moved to Houston, and so I sang for them. And so Yolanda knows me very well.
Wow!
And so I have sung a lot. That's why now, then when I went overseas when I was in Chicago, I went overseas. I went to India and I went to Osaka University, and I met a girl there. She was graduating, and I didn't translate then their language, but I sang "Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound," and then I modulate on that, and you'll hear it.
Wow!
Oh, you've heard it.
Yeah.
But anyway, a girl came up and she said to my interpreter, my translator, says, "Oh, something is going on with me inside." She was a graduate. She was a high school graduate, and so. He told me, I said, "Tell her that the Lord is trying to get her attention." And she says, "Oh, I want to be an on-hanger." She meant hang on because she wanted to travel with him.
Right.
And he said, "No, she's going back to Texas." And so she says, "I will go." I said, "Tell her I want her to graduate." And so then that's what happened.
Wow. Some of the preliminaries out of the way.
Okay.
But now a lot of people they want to know about your amazing recording career. But I want to start with Bishop Goldsberry because, if I'm not mistaken, was that the first time you recorded Our Final Fault?
Broken. When Jesus comes, I know he'll wipe all the tears away. And then he touched the glue.
Say that.
He takes the glue. He takes the glue. Oh yes, he does. He takes the glue. I can't do the rest. And
Don't worry about that.
still the glory. Oh yes, he does. Will change if you just let Jesus come.
Try that.
To stay.
There you go.
When I got sick, I lost my voice. No fault in
Yeah.
it. I recorded that in Chicago
with Goldsberry. Remember?
with Goldsberry.
And then you end up recording it in '74 on your
with
own.
Andre Crouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you recorded it with Andre Crouch?
Oh yes.
You recorded that with him?
He taught me that's the
He
song
wrote
that he
that, right?
wrote,
Right. Exactly.
and he recorded me.
The
I
lyrics.
find no fault.
The
It's
lyrics.
beautiful. In him.
That's something, isn't it?
Yes. And then when I went to California, Los Angeles, I have to tell you, it's Los Angeles to receive an award, a music award at the Music Center downtown on the water. And while I was there, I was singing for Ernestine Cleveland. Do you remember her?
Yes.
Yes, because she pastored a church, but now her son pastors.
She just recently
Deceased.
Yeah.
She recently left us here. But anyway, while I was there, I call them the boys, but they were, oh, happy day.
Hawkins.
The Hawkins said, come to my church, we'll pick you up. And I went to their church. It was in California. And they said, come in the office. And I went in the office with Walter. And Walter says, here's my repertoire. I'm going to be preaching. I didn't know he was a preacher. Oh my goodness. And so he looked through my repertoire and he says, you can sing any one of these. And I did just before he preached. He was a preacher. Oh my God. Oh my God, was he? I had never heard him. And so he preached and exhorted, rather. But I call it preaching.
Yeah.
And the ones who came to Houston before I left was Andre and the disciples, Tremaine, she was singing with them at that time, and a whole bunch of folks. So I did that in Houston.
So you recorded a Final Fault
I find
with
no
Bishop
fault.
Goldsberry.
Yes.
But did you record that before Bishop Goldsberry with Andre Crouch?
With Andre Crouch, but I think I lived in Houston then, and I did that for a long time. I think they have an anniversary program now, but I went one time and sang. But after that, I went back to Houston. But Charles Clancy was a wonderful man of God.
And you know, that's a perfect segue because Dr. Clancy actually recorded with you multiple times.
He did.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The album that you all did at the
At the
county.
Oh, at the county. I forgot about
he
that.
recorded
I
that
went
with
to
you.
that.
Remember that?
I forgot about that. There's so much I've forgotten about. And I'll tell you how that happened. My A&R man called me and wanted me to go to Carnegie Hall. He said, Sarah, and when I got in his presence, he says, I want to take you because you've been nominated for Grammy. And he says, but you'll have to stay in my room. I said, I can't stay in your room. I have John.
Yeah.
He said, no, we'll leave him at home, but you'll go there. And of course, I didn't want to go there, so I turned that down. But he wanted me to go to Carnegie. I said, I want to go where people cannot come out and get it. And that is in prison. He said, you want to go to a prison? I said, when I was in Texas, I traveled all over the states in America to sing for the prisoners. I mean, some of them were absolutely murderers and all kinds. And I would go in their cells and encourage them to be the best that they could do. Yeah. And
Wow,
so,
that's amazing.
and I did that. See, I have sung all over this place.
Can I digress for a moment because this is on my mind? Because if I'm not mistaken, is it Beverly Clinton? Oh Lord, it was someone that I spoke with that told me that they found joy in singing in the prisons. I can't remember which artist it was.
It may have been her. But
But
anyway,
no, I don't think it was Beverly
I
Clinton.
don't know. But a lot of people have
find
learned.
joy in,
They have learned that I would. I said, the people out here can come to concerts and hear me. But what about those in prison?
Is like right in the 70s, they allowed an African American woman with a Caucasian record label
Yes.
come into a predominantly black county jail and record. That had to have been really.
They wouldn't at first.
Oh,
they
really?
hung up on me.
Really?
I'm talking about the Savoy.
Oh, really?
And so I hung up too when he hung up. And so 2 years later, he called me back and he said, Sarah, you still want to go to the prison? I said, yes. He said, I'll call and make arrangements for you at the prison. And that's what happened.
And take us into the setting. So you all was like in some big hall or gym?
A very large hall.
Okay, and so they had it set up like it was like
a
church?
Yes.
So they had all the musicians there, and you just sat there and sang from your heart?
Yes.
No, they're going to make me cry. You ministered to them people.
I ministered to those people, and it was so wonderful to do that. You know that? And so you're about to make me cry because I don't do it anymore. I'm on my own now, resting. Because I allow the young people to do that. Right. They can sing for people at concerts.
Yeah, okay.
And so now I'm just resting. You know what is interesting? The Lord hasn't called me home yet.
You still got work.
That's more than you. More than you have said that, that word.
Reverend James Cleveland.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. That's a story.
Okay.
That is a story. But yes, I had gone to California, invited by. I've never gone anywhere where I wasn't invited.
Okay.
And so I went there for one person. But Reverend Cleveland was the master of ceremony. And he heard me again. He had heard me before. But he said, bring her to my house. So he said, let me find out if she will do that. Because I know she's teaching in Texas. I know she's teaching. So he came to me, he says, instead of going home at 10 o'clock, I want to take you to Reverend Cleveland's house. He wants you to be there. So I said, okay, I will do that. And so we went there, and Reverend Cleveland said, sit on the piano stool with me. And he sang one of his songs. He says, I just wrote that driving down the street.
God loves me so?
Something about God. So something about God. I don't remember.
Well, the title of the album was God So Loved the World.
No, I sang that in Houston.
Okay.
At gospel music. What's the name of it?
GMWA.
GMWA. I sang that there. But let me tell you this, and this. I'm gonna make it real brief. Okay. So what happened is he took me over to his house, beautiful home. He said, sit at the piano with me. And so I didn't know he was a good cook, but he was a very good cook.
Really? James Cleveland could cook.
Oh my God, out of this world. I learned from him something. But anyway, I sat at the piano and I sang some of the songs and that I sang. He said, take this tape home. At that time they had tapes. And I took it home. He said, and ask your husband, will you come to Dallas because we're having the Gospel Music Workshop of America. And so I got permission from my principal. He said, oh my, yes, you can go. Because I had sung for the graduating class at the school. They said, we don't want anybody else. And so I sang for them. But anyway, long story short, my principal said, oh, yes, you can go. I said, I'll be gone one day. Can you get a substitute? He said, we'll find one. So we went, my husband and I flew to Dallas. And Reverend Cleveland had called me and said, when you come, you can come up to my room. I can't think of the name of the hotel, but it was a wonderful hotel. It's at the top. And so he had his A&R man. I mean, Herman was the owner, but the A&R man.
This was Fred.
Was it Fred?
Fred Mendelssohn.
Fred Mendelssohn.
Was that the one you talking
about? Yes.
This guy right here?
That's who I'm talking about. He met us.
Because he's
still alive. No, he died. But anyway, we flew up there, and he had Fred Mendelssohn in there, sitting on the couch.
Right, because he used to come to the convention.
Yes,
he did.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna make me cry. That's a long story. So John and I went up to what do you call the
The
complex?
penthouse.
The penthouse. That's what he had, the penthouse, and had a piano in there.
Okay.
And so he told us to come up there,
Uh-huh.
and Fred Middleton was sitting down
Mhm.
on the couch, and I sang.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
James said, "Sing anything you want,"
Uh-huh.
and I said, I sang the song. You know it.
Which
Uh,
God knows
no,
why
not
not
that.
why not do it
No,
today?
not
All he
that.
want is you.
No.
Oh, what a companion.
Must He said, sing
Oh,
anything I
must
want.
Jesus. Okay.
Must Jesus bear the cross alone and all the world go free? There's, I can't do it now. A cross for everyone, and there's a cross for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I sang, I just got the first chorus out,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Let's go."
Let's go.
And that's how I started singing
Wow.
for
And that
for
first
Savon.
album was James Cleveland Presents
That's
Sarah
it.
Jordan
That
Powell,
is it.
Songs of Faith
Yes,
and
and love and
Inspiration.
inspiration. That's right. You
And
got
you
it.
actually, and you know what I find interesting about that?
What?
That your husband wrote the liner notes on that.
Yes, he did.
How did that opportunity come?
He played a little piano, a little bit.
Oh, really? John?
Yeah, when I would
Okay.
travel sometimes
Okay.
locally,
Mm-hmm.
he would play.
Wow.
Yeah, John would play, and he played beautiful. A good man. Let me travel all over the world. Never said a harsh word to me.
Mm-hmm.
Never,
Wow.
never.
May he continue to rest in peace.
And although yes,
Yeah.
because when I would come home before I would leave, he said, "You want me to help you pack?
Mm-hmm.
I'll iron anything you want to put in your luggage." And when I come home, he wouldn't say, "Who are you with?" And he would say, "Did you have a good time?" He'd get on the plane and put my baggage, my little baggage overhead,
Yeah.
and they all knew it. They said, "Hi, Mr. John." You know, he was wonderful. I married the right one.
You married the right one.
Yeah, I did. And John
Wow.
was wonderful. But anyway, when I would get out, he would be smiling, sitting in the airport.
Happy memories.
Yeah, happy memories. Sitting in the airport in that section and pick up my luggage and we go home.
You know, that reminds me of the song Precious Memory.
Oh,
how they
yes.
linger
How
and
they
flood my soul
Oh, yes. How
with joy.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. The old thing. The old thing. Whoa, we got to make some precious memories, don't we?
Precious memories.
They're also lovely, Miss Sara Jordan Powell. All right, so it's time to delve a bit deeper into her gospel diary. Let's talk about Ray Charles, because I think that that's a very interesting and a very important piece of your history. So, how did you meet Ray Charles and get that opportunity to record with him overseas?
Okay, I have recorded in his studio.
Mm-hmm.
Recorded in the studio. Excuse me. With James Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And so inadvertently, they left one of my tapes on his desk.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came in the next morning, he said, "What is this?" He asked one of his assistants, "What is this on my desk?" And he said, "I don't know because there was a recording Christian group in here last night." He says, "Well, let me have it. I'm going to put it on." So Ray Charles put it on, and I was singing, "I keep so busy working for my Jesus, I ain't got time to die." He said, "Who is that?" And the assistant said, "I don't know. I didn't come in here last night." He says, "Well, I want to get in touch with her." And so, as the Lord would have it, he got in touch with me. He says, "I'm doing a Christmas concert and I would like for her to come." Well, he didn't know me. And so after that, he called his booking agent.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Call Sara Jordan Powell." So she says, "I don't know her."
Mm-hmm.
And she said to him, "I know you know how you are picky about who sings with you."
Mm-hmm.
So she says that I don't know her. So my guy, Herbert Moon, said, "I know her." And he says, "Well, call Aretha Franklin."
Mm-hmm.
That's what he told his assistant to call Aretha Franklin. And so he called her and she says, "You want me to come to sing Christmas songs?" He said, "Yes, just Christmas songs." And she says, "Well, will I fly over water?" And he said, "Oh, yes." She said, "Oh, no, I don't fly over water. I don't do that." So she decided she wasn't going. Okay. Uh, Fast forward through the airport of Georgia. What's the name of that airport in Georgia?
Uh,
First of it.
I can't.
Starts with an A.
Hartfield, right?
Yeah, Hartsfield, but what's the first name? A. Atlanta.
Oh, you talking about the city? Okay.
Yeah, Atlanta. And he says, "Hey, wait a minute!" I was running through the airport on my way to Connecticut, and he says, "Aren't you Sara Jordan Powell?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Why?" I said, "I'm on my way to Connecticut." He says, "Well, wait a minute. Did you record something with Ray Charles?" I said, "No, I've never recorded with him." He says, "Well, he plays your music every morning
Wow.
that he wakes up, and he loves your music very much."
Wow.
And so I said, "Okay, bye. I hope that blesses him." And I kept running through the airport. Well, again, fast forward, he called his what do you call her?
His assistant.
Assistant, yes. And she says, "I'll call her." And so, of course, Aretha Franklin said, "No, I don't go across the water." And so he said, "Well, call Roberta Flack." So she says, "I will." She called Roberta Flack, and she says, "I'm recording right now in the studio, and I can't go anywhere." So she told Ray that, and he said, "Oh my goodness, I don't know anybody else." And so my guy, Herbert Moon, overheard the conversation. He says, "What are you looking for?" And he told her, "I'm looking for somebody to sing Christmas songs with Ray Charles." He said, "Oh, let me give you her name and you can call her." And she says, you know how Ray is. He's very particular about who sings with him." And so he said, "Call him anyway." So she called him, and he says, "What's her name?" And she says to Herbert Moon, "What's her name?" And he says, "Her name is Sara Jordan Powell." So she told Ray, "Her name is Sara Jordan Powell." He said, "Oh, yes, I know her." And I didn't know him, but he had heard my music.
And the rest was history.
And the rest is history.
Wow.
That's how that happened. But then after I had sung with him, and you have that on your recorder, after I had finished singing with him, and I went to meet him. He says, "I want you to sing with me the Raylettes." I said, "No, no, 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 no. I can't shake my behind and do that kind of songs. I can't do that. I sing for the church." He said, "Sara, I can introduce you to anybody in Hollywood, and I'll pay you anything you ask, but I want you." I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I can't do that." And so I turned it down. He said, "Here's my private number. You can call me." I never did. And so anyway, he said, "I'll introduce you." At that time, Johnny Carson was the feature on TV, and he says, "I'll introduce you to Robert
Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson, and you'll sing for him, and then I'll take you anywhere you want over here." And he said, "I'll pay you anything." But I turned all of that down because I know in whom I believe.
Watch out now.
And I know who brought me.
I'm with you.
I know who brought me here. The Lord did. And when it's time, He will take me out whenever He gets ready. And so I turned everything down. I could have lived in Los Angeles. He says, "We'll build you a house, whatever you want, to the specification of yours." And so anyway, I came back because I know that there are people who love me and they'll take good care of me. And I'm depending on the Lord, and that's what I've done ever since.
Wow.
But I sang for Him all day, all night.
Come on.
The angels keep watching over me.
Just sometimes. They don't watch over you all the time, do they?
Yes.
They do?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
All the time. The angels keep watching over me. Play it.
I know.
That's right.
And I thought about this. You can't really introduce nobody to Jesus with rump shaking.
No, you can't do that. So
you can introduce them to something totally different. Yeah.
And no amount of money is worth it. And nothing is worth it.
Let's start with Bishop Carlton Pearson and your appearance on the Azusa recording.
Oh, that's a long story.
Okay.
But I can tell you, when he left ORU, I didn't know that he was pastoring aside from that. And he sent for me then, because at that time I was singing all over the place. And I sang for him then. And then in 80, I think it was in the 80s, when I did hear that he had begun a church, but I didn't think I was going to be a part of that. But he called on me at that time, and I did sing. at Azusa.
What the Zusa you did was in the 90s.
Was in the 90s, right?
Right.
He had the church in the 80s.
Right. So let's talk about it was higher dimension, right?
Higher dimension.
Like,
The church.
Yeah,
It was beautiful.
I see videos and things like, but you actually went there on a Sunday. It was
On a-
crowded,
Yeah,
huh?
it was crowded.
To capacity.
Yeah.
Filled to capacity.
Yes, to capacity.
And the spirit was in
And the
there.
spirit was all over that.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
I sang that at Bishop Charles Blake's
Mhm.
church.
Right.
Sang that, and I recorded it. And I had finished, and they said, they're still applauding, they want you to come back.
Mhm.
I had sung several songs
Putting with Bill Gaither. How did that happen?
with his wife, Gloria.
Okay.
I sang with her. There's just something about that name.
Mhm.
Jesus, Jesus. There's just something about that name. I sang that.
So you have went to what did they record it in Indiana, right?
I've gone to Indiana 5 times to sing
With
the
Gaither.
songs of the season.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then I met Mother Teresa. I didn't tell you about that.
You met Mother Teresa?
Yes.
Lord have mercy.
I went to Mother Teresa's orphanage and saw the little children, and then she came out barefooted.
What?
Because she said, I don't wear shoes because the people here don't wear shoes.
Oh, okay.
And she said, always remember, a life not lived for others is not worth living. And it's true.
Yeah.
A life not lived for others is not worth living.
Yeah.
And I will always remember that.
I'll never say anything about this magazine, but if you can find one, make sure you get this. Well, make sure you get a copy of it.
Yes.
I featured Miss Sara Jordan Powell in that particular
Really?
magazine.
I didn't know that.
I do know that. That's you right there.
Is this mine?
Oh no, remember yours at home. Remember before we left the house?
But I don't know where it is.
Because I just gave you another one today.
This one?
No, we left it at the house.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
And I know most of these people.
On that note, as I say always, love on someone and change a life.